I'm a doctoral student of the program in economic analysis and business strategy at the Universidade de Santiago de Compostela. My name is Pedro, and I'm talking to you from the beautiful Madeira Islands in Portugal. With no further ado, I will start my presentation talking a little bit of the research area of my thesis. So my motivation for this area is the change that the sharing economy has had on a sector that was very traditional. The leader of this disruption was, without a doubt, Airbnb, and it depends significantly on crowdsourcing and other users' reviews. So customer is king in most of the industries, but the feedback is very powerful, particularly in this industry. The indicators of past experience are often used as relevant information as well to choose between accommodation. So people read reviews and they choose between a place or another place based on that review. There is an ongoing discussion if traditional ratings, that is quantitative ratings, are the better metric to measure the people's real opinion. There is some literature that says that there are some incentives to give good reviews, and nowadays we have ways to deal with big data that represents a big opportunity for tourism, because using big data techniques we can record to more sophisticated, bigger and finer grained information and use it to make decisions on tourism. Big data can help improve productivity, increase customer satisfaction. It's what we're talking about in this research area, and be also useful for marketing campaigns and operations. As an introduction, Airbnb is a platform that connects hosts and travelers, and has a lot of information going on both sides. Traditional and electronic word of mouth are the primary means of communication. So this is an area where we got a lot of feedback in the form of reviews. And it plays a very significant role on the perceived value and in the repurchase intentions of customers. Reviews are very useful in platforms such as Airbnb, because they do what? They reflect past experience from other travelers or customers, and most of the times they are the only source of information available. A bit about the structure of my overall thesis and my overall research. So my research is split on three main pillars. The first one is the one that we're going to be analyzing here today. So the impact of crowdsourcing on Airbnb prices using an Adonik pricing approach. Then the other pillar will be to check how the user language or the reviewer language can impact sentiment scores and emotions. And for that, I will use 5 languages: Portuguese, English, French, German, and also Spanish. And the third one was not on the initial plans, because I started this research before the pandemic, but it makes sense also to check the differences on how a big global event such as the COVID pandemic impacted Airbnb. What I hope to contribute with my study or with my research, I hope to contribute to the literature on the impacts of the sentiments expressed on reviews, mainly by checking its impact on the price. All sentiments can vary according to the language of the user, and how a global event such as the pandemic can affect the sentiments. And also, I will try to illustrate on how big data can be used and interpreted in hospitality studies. More concretely, to the first pillar of my research about how crowdsourcing impacts Airbnb prices using an Adonik pricing approach. We know that Airbnb is one of the platforms that have contributed for the rise of the sharing economy in the tourism area. It's without a doubt the one that had more impact. If we have a broader look, we can think about Uber and other companies on those areas. Using a big data approach, this paper uses web scrape data to explore the impacts of the sentiments on the expressed on the reviews, so the sentiments that are implicit on customer reviews on the listing prices. Considers also the traditional ratings, that is the quantitative evaluations, and obviously the hard characteristics, characteristics related to the accommodation in terms of number of rooms, bathrooms, etc. The data set was augmented, and I tried to bring some additional value by adding special variables in terms of the location of the listing and comparing it to the coastal line, the tube stations, and other points of interest. What is new on this research? The main breakthrough is that we are going to analyze and work the Airbnb information from different perspectives. So we're talking about sentiments on the reviews, traditional quantitative evaluations, geospatial data, and we'll apply all this to the case study of the metropolitan area of Oporto. We will estimate a special Adonik price model, and we're going to analyze the difference between the traditional ratings and the sentiments on prices. We have the literature review is quite recent on this area, but we managed to find that electronic word of mouth plays a significant role on the perceived value and risks and the intention to repurchase. Reviews are very useful for platforms in this sector, like Airbnb. And the past experience of other customers are normally, or most of the times, the only source of information available. We also found that reviews in the sharing economy tend to be more positive than those in the traditional economy. The truth of the matter is that it's very hard to find a negative review in the sharing economy area, and we'll a bit more about it in this presentation. So we found that it's generally accepted that physical characteristics such as location, where the listing is located, if it's located near to interesting amenities or not, cost characteristics and physical characteristics of the accommodation have, with no big surprise, a significant impact on prices. Negative reviews, as I was saying, have little experience. Here we have an example of a study that found that not even 2% of 2.5 million reviews were negative, and this is over the studies that we've checked. This is about the average. Although negative reviews are in a very small number, they are generally more influential to the customer behavior than positive ones. So positive reviews are normal, and negative, because they are so rare, normally generate a big impact. So our approach is based on the dilemma, let's put it this way, between reviews or sentiments expressed on the reviews and traditional ratings. We've noticed through literature that review scores of Airbnb are higher than hotels and other platforms. Nearly 95% of Airbnb listings have 4.5 or 5 stars, and the number of listings having less than 3.5 stars are residual. We also found that when consumers read online reviews, they pay attention not only to the scores, but also to the contextual information. Word of mouth and interpersonal influence are rated the most important information source when a consumer is making a purchase decision. This influence is very important, particularly in the hospitality and tourism industry, because unlike physical products where we can have a trial or we can have a text, these are difficult to evaluate prior to consumption. So we have to believe on opinions based on others' experience. Positive correlation between hotel purchasing intention, expectation, and valence of the review was found in previous studies as well. And we found that Airbnb reviews tend to have a positive bias, partially due to the fact that reviews are not anonymous. The star rating is not considered by some studies as being the ideal metric to measure quality, and some studies consider the polarity of reviews. We found also that star ratings are skewed through the positive ends, and that in some cases guests are offered and incentivized to use digital technologies to render them as quantified selves, or they feel the need to give a good evaluation to the host. And also sometimes there is a misperception or a conflict in the what quality means for the host and also for the guest. So our main hypothesis when starting working on this this pillar was that a higher perception of quality leads to higher prices. The sentiments expressed on reviews capture the quality perceptions better than the traditional evaluations, that is traditional ratings, and type of listing and location aspects play a very important role on price setting. In this paper, we use natural language processing, which is an automatic or semi-automatic processing of human language that helps computers to understand and process language. It's an effective tool for generating structured information from unstructured data. NLP has recently gained much attention because there is a lot of unstructured information, and we want to be able to compile it on a way that it can be analyzed, just like we're doing in this research. In order to quantify the sentiments on the reviews, we recur to sentiment analysis, which is a popular application of text classification. And what it does, it determines the sentiment expressed on the review or the opinion polarity. It's used nowadays a lot, partially to the big boom on information that we have from social media posts, reviews, etc. With this big explosion of content, there is an ever-growing need to automate consumer sentiment analysis and trying to extract value and trying to quantify what's expressed on the review. So in a systematic way, what we do have is a sentence or a review. Normally it's not objective, it's subjective, so we have to have a way to quantify it. And what we do, with sentiment analysis is a polarity classification. We check if that subjective sentence is positive, negative, or neutral. And we also found that the sentiment analysis of the tourists is playing a growing importance on the development on tourism, as it aims to identify and analyze opinions contained on reviews. We use the software R to extract the sentiments. More specifically, we use the FIN that basically classifies the polarity of a text being negative or positive. It consists on a list of English terms, manually rated, and gives a qualification between -5 and +5. For you to have an idea, I added a few examples of words. So amazing would have a classification, a positive classification of 4, good a classification of 3, and pleasant -2, and bad -3. We also recur to Adonik price model that basically assumes that the price of a product reflects the consumer evaluation of the product's various attributes. So there is a set of attributes that have influence on the price. This type of modeling is being more and more used in tourism research, and allows to estimate the implicit prices of the attributes of Airbnb that are valuable by the consumers in terms of decision making. Regarding our model, we have our listings, L, that is the embodiment of a set of attributes, and we have the functional form of P, the price, that is assumed to be constant across the listing. That is a function for the listing. The contribution of each attribute, it's important to note, may vary from one listing to another. Regarding the data set, so what we did is we collected information from inside Airbnb. Inside Airbnb is a site that scraps information from Airbnb and makes it publicly available. This is an automatic system, so the information still has to be a little bit worked. We managed to retrieve 450,000 reviews from Oporto between the years of 2016 and 2019. More or less 250,000 reviews were written in English, and we are using here only the English ones, and they refer to 9,588 listings. You can see on a map the listings that we have in the metropolitan area of Oporto. A lot of them are on the municipality of Oporto. We cannot even see the name because it's full of listings. Still regarding the data set, the Airbnb data includes accommodation characteristics of the listings, the coordinates, and the price per night. We added the mean of the reviews for each listing sentiment score extracted with R, as we've seen before, and increased the quality of the data set with the geographic coordinates. That is the nearest point of interest, the nearest tube station, and the distance to the coastline. Here we have on a graphic way the price per guest and how it varies across the metropolitan area. The municipality of Oporto, that accounts for almost 75% of the listings, is the second one price-wise on terms of having the highest price, and in terms of sentiment score is on the middle of the table, so it's on the 9th place out of 18. We gathered variables that we grouped in 5 different groups. Group one was the host-related variables that included the years of experience of the host, the number of listings, the gender, the language used while describing the listing, the acceptance rate, response rate, the response time, and whether the host was a super host or not. Airbnb as a rule regarding super hosts. So if hosts have a minimum of 100 nights of hosting, a good response rate above 90%, and a very low cancellation rate, they are entitled to the super host badge. Regarding the listing characteristics, we consider the capacity in terms of the number of guests the listing accommodates, if it's an entire place or not, the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, the existence of an air conditioner, and a pool. Regarding location and nearby amenities, we considered if the listing is or not in the municipality of Oporto, if Airbnb displays the exact location, so hosts can choose if they want to provide the exact location of a place, like the number of the door of the address, or they can give a not exact location, just pointing out to a vast area. We also analyzed the distance to the tube station, cultural point of interest like museums, theaters, and the coastline points. Regarding the booking itself, we considered as variables the minimum nights, the cancellation policy, the instant booking, that is the possibility to click a button and make the booking on the minute without any kind of analysis from the host, the number of guests included, the extra people that could be accepted, the security deposit, and the cleaning fee. Regarding the crowdsourcing variables, we considered the number of monthly reviews, the average quantitative overall rating, and obviously the sentiments extracted from the reviews. These are examples of information that we can find on the Airbnb site. So here we can see under what this place offers the cable TV, the free parking, the shared pool. We can see a review from a customer, and we can see the star rating, the number of reviews, and at the bottom, the description of the listing. Also, we can get information about the host. In this case, we have a super host badge, the response rate, and the response time. And at the bottom, what I was talking a little bit before, if the location is exact or not. In this case, the location is only provided after the booking, the exact location. Regarding our empirical results, we established 3 models. All of them have in common the groups of variables that we've seen before: host, booking, location, and listing characteristics. And the difference between the models is that model 1 does not include the sentiment extracted from reviews, just uses the traditional rating. Model 2 does not include the quantitative overall rating, and model 3 includes both. We used a special autoregressive model to do the regression, that is state as SPRegress command, which is basically the equivalent of the regress function, but for spatial data. We used spatial data because we started by using a shapefile of Oporto metropolitan area. We add the coordinates of every listing. So we added to the shapefile, and we created a new shapefile of the metropolitan area, but with the listings on it. We added the tubes, the point of interest, the distance to the coastline, And we did all this and created a final shapefile using ArcGIS software, which is a mapping software. SPRegress, what it does, it fits SAR models. And on our case, we used a generalized spatial two-stage least squares estimator. Using these specifications, on model 1, we got an R squared of 0.5024. This is, and I remind you that model 1 is the one with the overall rating. In model 2, we took off the overall rating and included the sentiment, so R squared increased. And on model 3, we used both, so R squared increased even more. Regarding the group of variables OST, we analyzed the language, the gender. On this case, we checked if the description language was in English or not. We checked the OST years, the response time, the response rate, and whether if it was a super host or not. What we found on this group of variables was that the response rate and acceptance rates have a significant negative impact. Listings description in English and having a female host is related to an increase on prices, and being a super host is related to having good reviews. In a more visual and interesting way, what we have is that we can see that language, when the hosts used English as the description language, it had a positive impact. Being a female also had a positive impact. The response rate and the acceptance rate have a negative impact, meaning that the higher the response rate and the higher the acceptance rate, the lower is the price. And an interesting finding was to see that on the model that we use, the sentiment score, we have a big influence on the super host, and not so much on the other models. Regarding the booking, we analyzed if the cancellation was flexible or not, the number of minimum nights, if it was location exact, the value of the security and the cleaning deposit, the guests included on the price, the price to pay for an extra person, if it was instant bookable, and the quarter of the year on where the booking was done. Our findings on this group of variables was that having the exact location and the flexible cancellation policy have the highest positive impact on the three models. The requirement of a number of minimum nights have a negative contribution on two of the models, and a small positive impact on model 1. And the quarter of the year of the booking and the number of guests have a positive impact on the price on all models. So here we can see the positive impact of the cancellation policy, being flexible or not, being location exact. We can see the negative impact of the minimum nights, and the smaller positive contributions of the guests included and the quarter. In the quarter, we by this, the higher the quarter of the year, so summer and autumn are the quarters of the year more related to higher prices, which is not surprising because we're talking about the holiday season and then the festivity season. Regarding location, we wanted to check if the listings were located in the municipality of Porto or not. Why we wanted to know this? Because most of them, almost 3/4, are located in the municipality of Porto. We wanted to check also if being neighbor in terms of sharing a border with the municipality of Porto had an impact on the price, and then the three distances that we considered from the listing to the station, to point of interest, and to the coastline. What we found was that being located in Oporto leads to a higher price, while being located in a neighbor municipality has a positive price, but it's rather small. Not surprisingly, Airbnb prices decrease with distance from metro stations, points of interest, and coastline. And among these three, the metro station is the one with the least impact. So schematically, we can see the big positive impact of being in Oporto municipality, the smaller impact of being neighbor of Oporto municipality, and the effect of the distances to the listings. And we can see that being distant, the more distance to the coastline, the more negative impact on the price, and not so much in the case of the tube stations, which is not as big. Regarding the accommodation characteristics, we checked the guests the listing accommodates, if it was or not an entire price, the number of bedrooms and bathrooms, if it had an air conditioning system, and if it had a pool. What we found in this group of variables was that the biggest impact is related to having an entire place, meaning that customers value privacy. And we can see here at your right side a split of the type of rooms, with the entire home of apartment accounting for more than 80% of the listings, and private room with 16%. Not surprisingly, the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, and the number of people the listing accommodates has a considerable positive effect, and the existence of the swimming pool has much more impact than having an air conditioning system in all models. So here we can see all of the variables have positive impact, with the room type and the pool having more impact on the price in all models. Last but not least, we checked the group of variables crowdsourcing, and this included what? The average number of reviews per month, and we had a mean of 1.8, and it varied from virtually 0 to 14 a month. We checked the overall rating, which goes from 0 to 100, but on this case, the minimum we had was 20, and the mean we had was 93.66, confirming that it's very hard to find a negative review. Regarding the sentiment, we gathered the sentiments from the reviews, and we split them in 3 levels. So low, medium, and high. The mean we got was about 2. So we can see here, we can see the difference it does from analyzing the overall rating and the sentiment. What we found basically was that our results are consistent with the previous studies, as more reviews are associated with a drop in the price. The overall rating has a positive impact on the listing price in Model 1, and even higher impact on Model 3. And the sentiment extracted from reviews are positive on Model 2 and 3, demonstrating a higher impact on price on Model 2. Graphically, we have that the more reviews we have, the lower is the price in all models. Regarding the overall rating, we see that on model 1, where we have just the overall rating, we have 0.003. And on model 3, when we get the overall rating and the sentiment score, the overall rating increases. Regarding the sentiment, we have the opposite situation. When we have the sentiment alone with no overall rating, we have a value of 0.088. And when we have it in combination with the overall rating, it drops to 0.019. For conclusions, we gathered that while the overall rating has a higher impact on price when used in combination with the sentiments extracted from reviews, and that happens on model 3, sentiments are more impact when used as the only quality measure, and that happens on model 2. Sentiments extracted from reviews are a better proxy for quality, considering that that quality is an important factor for the price setting, and that an even better option is to have both of them together, as it was demonstrated in model 3. Contrary to most of the research on this area that measures quality based on quantitative ratings, this study uses the performance of sentiment scores extracted from guest reviews as a proxy for quality and compares it to the traditional ways. And also, it's important to note that when we compare quantitative ratings and sentiment scores, we detect only a small correlation between them. We covered quite a few aspects on this paper, but there is still a lot of room for future work. It would be interesting to explore the possible differences between the reviews on the languages. It would be interesting to check the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on all analyzed variables, and I will take care of that on my next two papers. Also, it would be interesting to find differences on the occupation rates. So instead of trying to analyze the impact on price, trying to analyze the impact on the occupation rates. And it would be interesting to have more socioeconomic information about the customers who wrote the reviews. We didn't do that because it would be very expensive to obtain that kind of information. And also, it would be very, very interesting to adapt the proposed models to other cities or even countries or regions to check possible differences on the results. So that's all for my presentation. I want to thank you for your time. I also want to give a big thank you to Professor Maria Loureiro for being very helpful during all this this process and always pushing me a little bit further. And I'm at your disposal for any questions or comments that you may have. And at the bottom, you have my personal email. If you wish to make communication, just feel free to do it.
Thank you so much, Pedro. So we open for questions now. We appreciate your presentation. It was very clear, and probably there are many comments and suggestions from the group of people who are listening to you today. I have some questions on my own side, but let me first open the floor for my colleagues, and then I will follow up if they get shy or something. Okay. Así que se tedes alguna pregunta, por favor, sentirvos cómodos ou cómodas de facelo, agora é o momento. Decirvos que, claro, Pedro traballou sempre a distancia pola situación do COVID. Nunca Pedro veu a Universidade de Santiago de Compostela. Isto foi totalmente en remoto, está sendo totalmente en remoto. Entón, por tanto, por eso é o sentido do seminario, ¿no? Darlle un pouco de posibilidade de ter interacción con un grupo máis grande de persoas para as que poida, pues eso, compartir e chegar a ter máis feedback e comentarios. Como vos digo, esta é unha tese pandémica. cas súas características propias, así que, por favor, non dubidedes en darlle suxestións e comentarios. Moitas gracias. Alguna pregunta?
Diolles, María.
Jorge, sí, adiante. Jorge ten unha pregunta, non sei se Carlos tamén quería comentar algo. Como
Sí.
comezamos?
No, está primeiro Carlos, por favor.
Adiante, por favor. Acabamos.
Vamos a ver, Pedro. Se entendín ben, hai unha relación, unha correlación non moi grande, pero hai unha correlación pequena, dixeches, entre a calidade e o precio. Un debería esperar que os lugares de maior calidade tiveran maior precio. Acontece así, mas podías abundar un pouco máis en iso, é dicir, que por que non há unha correlación ben forte entre a calidade e o precio?
There is a relation between quality and price, and there is that's one of the assumptions of the paper. What I said and what it was surprising is that there is a very small correlation between the quantitative rating and the sentiment scores. So I think that's it that you're referring, right, Carlos?
Yeah, probably. I understood that this. Yeah, but my point is that this aspect could be addressed more deeply, because I think this is you have the big data to obtain sentiments, and you have said at the beginning that the scores are naturally almost always positive. Then I think the better, let's say, the more interesting contribution could be focused on the things that apport.
Explaining the difference, yeah.
Yeah, explain the difference that came from the observation of big data sentiments. Is you are the name that you give to the information obtained from big data analysis. And
yes, I understand what you're saying, and there's a bit of literature about it, saying about the incentives to give an high quantitative rating, that people are shy to give low valuation in terms of rating because the hosts can see their picture and so on. And there's quite a bit of literature about that. But thank you very much, and that's a nice angle for sure.
Yeah. Congratulations for your work. I think I find that this very well done, and that there could be consequences, because you know this. You have the technology. You have the technology to extract information about places to
compare it. Yes.
With different information. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Carlos.
Thank you to you for the presentation. Very good presentation. Very professional.
Gracias, Carlos. De verdad. Jorge, quizás ahora, que tiene la mano levantada.
Sí. First of all, I would thank you, Pedro, for your presentation. I found it, although I am not very keen, very familiar with the tourism industry in Portugal, I found it very interesting, and I think it has a lot of potential for further research in the lines you commented, and also in comparisons between the Airbnb or the sharing touristic industry and the traditional touristic industry in Porto or in other cities of Portugal. I like to make you just two short questions. One is the robustness check. Did you develop any robustness check for these regressions? And the second one is about the construction of the sentiment scale. You have the quantitative scale for the reviews as extracted from Airbnb data, and you have also using the natural languages tools develop an own sentiment scale. I would like you to give us a little more color about how did you constructed this sentiment scale.
So the sentiment scale, I did it on R using the affine package, and it gave me a value. So every words on the review is rated. Well, so if the words are on the affine list, they will be rated between -5 and 5. And then what I get is a sum of all the words on the review. So after having that sum, what I did was to divide the sentiments in 3 levels: low, medium, and high, and that's how I've separated the sentiments.
Okay. And did you choose a scale of 3 stages? Didn't you think it was a little too narrow compared with the quantitative scale of 0 to 100 in the reviews? Do you think maybe a little broader scale of sentiments, such as a Likert, similar to a Likert scale, for example, could be could provide deeper results?
Could be an option, yes, and that's something not so hard to do, to see how it could change and impact the results. So that's a nice that's a very nice tip. Let's put it like that. So I will try for sure to split it in different scales and to analyze the differences. Thank you very much for that.
Thanks to you, and once again, congratulations for the work.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, George.
Hai outras preguntas, comentarios, suxestións, ideas? No. Bueno, eu quería agradecer aos meus compañeros, tanto a Carlos como a Jorge, os seus comentarios, porque son moi útiles, de verdad, sobre todo porque é a primeira vez que se presenta este traballo, entonces, pues sempre quedan moitas cousas así que un dúbida se vai no camiño correcto ou non. Quería só comentar que a apreciación que fixo Carlos é moi interesante sobre, bueno, como é que a calidade do lugar non ten un impacto máis alto no prezo. E o que observamos basicamente é que nesta economía máis informal o que ten máis efecto é o que chamaban en inglés uniqueness, é dicir, a experiencia única de estar nun lugar moi distinto ao que é o estándar habitual dun hotel, non? É dicir, que víamos máis que tiña moito máis impacto o uniqueness, a unicidade do lugar, a especificidade que outras posibles características máis relacionadas coa calidade. Ou mellor dito, que a xente que vai a este Airbnb busca un lugar único e distinto, non necesariamente top quality, como chamaríamos. E tamén me parece superinteresante o comentario de Jorge, porque efectivamente Jorge, a librería que se empregou é un pouco, como diste, ten poucas escalas, pero hai outras librerías de sentimento que teñen escalas máis extensas, por exemplo, de 0 a 10, non? Que nos daría máis variabilidade, e iso é un elemento moi interesante, e a súa vez cambiarían relativamente os coeficientes, serían incluso máis fáciles de interpretar, etc. Entón, definitivamente tamén o teremos en consideración. E despois, tamén Jorge fixo unha pregunta moi interesante sobre robustness checks. que sí que penso que fixeras, Pedro, porque hai unhas semanas mandaras unhas regresións con errores robustos, e sí que fixeras, basicamente os resultados eran coincidentes. Pero é algo que tamén temos que decir no artigo, que efectivamente pues, que se fixeron probas de robustez. E bueno, pues que moitísimas grazas porque de verdad que serviu de moito presentar e coller estas ideas para mellorar determinados aspectos. Non sei se os demais que están aquí asistindo queren engadir algo máis, porque de verdade que nos parece moi útil. Como vos digo, isto foi completamente traballo pandémico, por tanto, está moi ben presentado. No, bueno, pois se é así, pois deixámolo por agora. Moitas grazas a todos pola vosa participación e convidámos xa para o seguinte venres o día 1, onde tamén teremos unha ponente portuguesa, unha profesora de Portugal, da Universidade de Porto, porque xa estaremos falando do Seminario de Investigación propiamente dito de ECOBAS, non de formación de doutorado. Contaremos ca presencia da profesora Joana Rita Piño Resende, que presentará un traballo moi interesante sobre o Profit Effects of Consumer Identity Management a Dynamic Model. É dicir, todo o que se fala agora da identidade no poder de compra, etc., pois é algo que la revisa no contexto actual, facendo referencia efectivamente a como iso afecta os beneficios das empresas. E sen máis, pois nada, esperamos para a semana seguinte, para a vindeira semana. Moitas grazas a todos e a todas. Bo resto de semana e moitas grazas aos que asistiron. E grazas, Pedro, por compartir a túa investigación e por ser tan generoso co teu tempo, co teu traballo. Así que ata a próxima a todos.